nails. He was like, oh, I like those.
Welcome, everybody. Let's have a good conversation.
All right, let's go.
It's time for the exploration of intimacy. I am so excited to have a few panel members who are chosen to take a little bit of time out of their Valentine's Day to enjoy this. And I want y'all. We're not no holds bar. We're being real here because we have a plethora of age and wisdom and energy, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. The way this is gonna work, I have a few questions, and I'm gonna start this thing off. And I want to hear your real comments. We're not sugarcoating it down. We're not watering. This ain't about protecting folks' feelings. I love y'all to death, but tonight we all about what's real and what's right. So on the panel, we have Mr. Spencer Barnes, Ms. Kayla Newbill, Ms. Jamila Flint, and Ms. Javonda Robinson. Thank you guys for joining me.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Okay, so we're gonna get into the thick of things because I'm ready to hear your comments. So the first question as we started this off is, what does intimacy mean to you? Let's start off with Miss Javonda.
I don't know. Intimacy is interacting with someone in a personal way, be it physical, mental, emotional, but making sure you guys communicate, interact. I mean, that's just it. Just keep it broad.
Okay.
We can't hear you, Michelle.
Okay, sorry about that. Miss Kayla, what's your thoughts?
My thought on intimacy.
What is intimacy? The basic definition in your mind.
Oh, what is intimacy? So I am, when it comes to the English language and vocabulary, I am such a literal person. So, but alcohol, rubbing alcohol. I don't have rubbing. It's right there. I'm sorry. Intimacy is a bond between two people that is hard to be broken, that has been built over time. It's the little things that you are in tune with in your partner. It's the subtle changes of their moods in public. It's the subtle movements that they do, because when you're truly intimate with someone, even when you're chilling with them and just being in the house with them, you know when there's a slight change. So that's what intimacy is. I am a firm believer that intimacy does not always involve the physical aspect of a relationship. I believe that it encompasses many things, such as the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the physical. So when I think of intimacy, I think of that as well. I am a Christian, so intimacy can come when you're praying together. Intimacy can come when you're being vulnerable with someone. Intimacy can come when you're just hugging that person and just expressing your feelings and just having a regular conversation about your day. That is a form of intimacy.
Okay, great. Miss Jamila, what's your definition of intimacy?
Okay, I'm the raw person. Intimacy is, I know everybody can't handle my language. Intimacy is a mind fuck. Intimacy is a mind fuck, first and foremost. It is necessary to be able to penetrate and stimulate the mind before you touch the person's body.
Hey, you're on point.
If you can use your English language or any other language that you may speak to stimulate my mind first, then the possibility, I won't give it a definitive, but the possibility of physical intimacy is more open at that point. Intimacy for me mentally has been something as deep as Bible study with my partner, has been as silly as a ridiculous debate over anime with a partner. So it for me, it always starts mentally before anything else happens. Intimacy can be going to work out, just a number of things. But for me, everything starts with the mind first. That's my definition.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Mr. Spencer,
Hey,
hear it.
so I agree with what the ladies are saying. So basically, just stimulating the mind. So I'm a mixed sapiosexual person. So basically, like you said, working out with my wife. Before I even touched her, I had to get to know her for 8 months. So I wouldn't even do anything sexually with her. So I just wanted to get to know her as far as her mood swings. How can I say it? What she likes to eat, just her daily activity. That's pretty much what intimacy means to me. It's like you're wooing a woman, or you wooing that type of person that I guess to try to get them to marry you. That's my definition. Short, sweet, and simple to the point.
Okay. So the true definition of intimacy: noun, close familiarity or friendship closeness. Personally, the definition of intimacy for me is an encompass of what you said. It's the physical, it's the mental, it's the emotional. Can I have a conversation with you? Can I sit there and we can sit and watch TV and be close? It doesn't have to be sex. Now, don't get it wrong. I'm a very open and loving my sexuality too. Let's be real. Intimacy goes into that. It feeds into it. A bond is different. The connection is different if there's a level of intimacy going into it.
Right.
Right. My mom was reading an article about someone, and she said, "What?" And she asked me, she was like, "What is pansexual?" And I said, "Mom, that is someone who loves someone or is attracted to someone, no matter their sexual orientation."
Right.
And so mom was like, "So they like everybody?" And I said, "Yeah." And my mom was like, "They need Jesus."
Hey, if that's
We
how
all
you
need
were raised,
Jesus.
absolutely.
Right.
And I had no choice but to laugh. And then of course her sister, my aunt, chimed in and said some other things, and I was like, what? Like but it's just a different generation because I think they're baby boomers with millennial children. So that's like what, 3 generations?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like even though my cousin is 10 years older than me, she's still considered a millennial because she was born in 1983 and I was born 10 years later in 1993. So it's crazy because like they were born in the 50s and 60s, and they're looking at us like, is this for real? And I'm like, yes, it is for real. This is what we grew up. This is what I was exposed to. This is what I grew up around. It's who shaped me and everything like that. So like sexual orientation, that's how I realized that I'm an ally, because I take up for everybody, no matter who you are and no matter what your sexual orientation is, because I do believe that you have a right to love and to be who you are and to not be judged or attacked for it, whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally. I truly believe that, because if you and somebody's saying like you can't compare the LGBTQ rights to civil rights, but isn't it similar? Didn't we fight for the right to vote and marry?
Yeah, I think once you're dealing in that, like it gets a lot of personal opinion. But in my opinion, I agree with you. Civil rights as far as LGBT. I mean, it's a touchy subject, but I'm not really against. I believe you should love who you love. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a same-sex man, you want to do something with a guy, that's on you. I don't believe in that. That's not what I would do. But if that's what this guy wants to do, then that's fine. Same with women. I don't believe people should, even though it's in the Bible that you're supposed to marry a man, marry a woman. I just feel like as far as black people, if you really want to address the trauma, you have to start with that. So I'm for progression. That's what I think.
Okay. All right. And that's great. So next question, since we brought up the race information, my next question is, how do we as a culture demonstrate intimacy?
As a culture, oh man, our love language is food, for one.
You're right. Cookout.
I mean, no matter what we do, if somebody is sick, you take them food. If somebody gets married, you feed them. If somebody dies, we eat. But our love language is food, and as far as intimacy, I mean, that's how we open up. I mean, think about it, when any of those events have happened, if somebody has a baby, whatever it is, we find a reason to eat. But that carries over into our households.
Right.
For Valentine's Day, I got the kids a little something, but for the most part, I got them there, I cook for them. And that's the way that we show our love. That's how we are intimate with them. My husband was fine with that. He grilled the turkey. We had collard greens. So, that's what we do.
All right. Kayla?
I would dare to say, I absolutely agree with you that as a culture, yes, our love language is definitely food. Historically, I think that has happened because as a culture, as an African American culture, love for us was kind of bastardized in terms of how we were able to love,
Right.
the parameters in which we were able to love. And so culturally, as time has gone by and years have gone by and decades have gone by, this is, when you love somebody, you feed them because that's what
right.
we were afforded, and because that's what we were afforded, that has become our love language. I think it's important that we, as a culture, begin to broaden our horizon and our perspective on what love means to us as a culture. Because sometimes other things that should be intimacy, communication should be intimacy, and our communication really stinks right now as a culture. We're not doing this very thing. We're not holding the conversations that we should hold in terms of, how does a woman need to be loved? How does a man need to be loved? How do we love each other? Whether we are Black or white, whether we are, heterosexual or LGBT, we have to have those conversations to broaden what that love language looks like. Instead, I am notorious. If I love you, I'm going to always say, hey, make sure you text me when you get home. Have you eaten? Those are things that we do. That's something that we have been mentally programmed to do in terms of how we communicate our love. But as we move forward, I am that middle generation. I am the generation X between the boomers and the millennials. I have a boomer mother and I have millennial children. So, taking those generations, and then I have my grandmother who's still living is a silent generation, the Depression generation. Yeah. So what I learned from my grandmother and my mother is different than what I've taught my children. I've a lot of the boomer and generation X, the boomer and silent generation, they say, well, no, you're raising them wrong, and if you're not whooping their tail all the time. But that's, for me, that's not how I chose to show love to my children, because at a certain age they know how to communicate. So then I have to talk to them like they are intelligent human beings and love. And so now my two older ones are grown and out of the house, and they have, their own relationships, and they are moving into very healthy relationships where they can communicate very healthy with their partner. So I think, definitely as we move forward and grow in the generations and teaching through the generations, we've got to work on better ways and other ways. I won't scratch the better ways, but definitely other ways, because food is life. Food feeds the soul, Food does
Right.
feed our soul. But
Right.
definitely other ways to be a part of that love.
Right. And what I realize is, like even as women, when we're mad, we're still going to feed our significant other. We're, we
Hey,
we
don't force this though. Don't
we
force
gonna
this now.
The men do too.
yeah, we're not gonna we're not gonna poison them or anything, but we're just gonna, and we're still gonna have an attitude, but we're gonna make sure that they eat. Like, we're gonna
Yeah.
fuss you out and hang up, and we may hang up on you or send you like a not so pretty text message, but then the next text message, I'm
Come get
going
this
by
plate.
Zaxby's, I'm going by
That's right.
Chick-fil-A,
Want that plate?
going,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
or I'm going
You
to the store,
hungry? Yeah.
what you want to eat, and then you walk in the house and you be like, here you go, or you walk in the house and you immediately start cooking what they stated that they wanted. It's a different thing. And I realized that when I was at a football party and I didn't like somebody. I don't know why I don't like this person. It's just something about them that I don't like. But I was a good hostess in somebody else's house, and I was like, and I made everybody's plate. And he was, and the guy who invited me was like, "You were not nice." I said I was nice. I said I fixed that man plate, and I fixed him a drink, and I let him be peaceful at the football party.
All right.
And he was like, yeah, you did that. And I was like, so I was nice. So what he wanted me to do was be more outgoing towards this person because I'm an extrovert. I wasn't. I was like, what you want? I was like, what kind of wings do you want? And he told me, and so I put it on the plate, and I handed him a plate, and I made his drink, and I handed it to him, and then I made my plate, and I made my friend's plate, and then I sat there and was quiet and ate my wings. I don't know
No,
what else. I don't
that's
know what else you
good.
wanted me to do.
No, so I'm gonna use that example, right? Because I don't fake either. If I don't like a person, I'm not gonna sit here and just sugarcoat it. Like, to me, that's forgiveness. That's why when you guys are talking about intimacy and healing and stuff, that's something that I'm learning myself. Because honestly, if I were in your situation and I had to fix somebody a plate, I'll be cordial with them. But at the same time, if they would say something, I'd probably side on like what you say. So I'll be ready to turn up. So that's something that I had to learn to be tactful in the situation. So I think you did an excellent job. And going back to what you were saying about the cookout, that's definitely our love language. We are unconditional loving people. Like, we're always trying to invite somebody to the cookout. Like, it don't matter if they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, it don't matter. If they're cool with the culture, we always invite them. And that's just our way of saying, all right, man, we respect you. We appreciate you, and you're down for the cause. So, I mean, as far as black men showing black women love, I honestly think it's there. It's just the communication barrier. Like, me and my wife, we communicate a lot, but at the same time, like you said, if she gets mad at me, she's still gonna fix me a plate. If I get mad, I'll still show her love, but at the same time, I'm gonna be like, oh man, what can I do to get back on her good graces? So that's
Right.
something that we have to learn. And even what you were saying with your kids. So with me, it's different. Like, my love language, I wasn't taught to be emotional. I was taught to be stern and hard, because that's how my dad was on me. My dad was a very stern person. He was like, get it done, no excuses, period. And that's just who I am. But with my kids, because I have girls, they brought out that side of me to be, you need to, you can't, like, I literally can't whoop them. I have to tell my wife to do it, because she's like, you're so soft on the girls. I'm like, they're girls. I don't want them to think a dude's supposed to hit them. So, I'm chill with them. But with my boy, I destroy him because he's bad. I mean, so that's my opinion. But I honestly think, as far as bridging the communication barrier, man, we have a ways to go, but we're still getting there. As far as showing love to each other.
Can't hear. hear you, Michelle.
And we're going to welcome Miss Taylor to the party. So the question we're on right now is, how do we as a culture demonstrate intimacy? She looking around. Ma'am. Yeah, come on, come on. You're real low.
Okay, is that better?
A little bit. Okay.
I would honestly say, I feel like we don't anymore. I feel like a lot of people call it being private, when it's other underlying things. Whether it be the partner you're with is I don't want to say ashamed, that's an ugly word. The person you're with is not up to the standards that you see the rest of the world, as the rest of the world would see. Or two, I find a lot of times that it's underlying issues from, childhood and growing up. If you were never hugged or shown love in a certain way, that it makes it hard for you to be able to do it. But I'm kind of biased on that because I feel like personally, a lot of things that my, mother didn't do, I had gratefully grandparents to do, but it was my decision, I feel like, as an adult, to say, this is the person that I want to be, or this is how I want to treat who I want to be, or this is how I want to show my emotions and my feelings to this person. And I mean, those that know me know that I really don't care what the rest of the world thinks about me and how I move. But I think that people just don't show intimacy in the way that they're supposed to or used to. That's all.
Okay. And for myself, I'm inclined to agree. We as a culture don't show that beauty of life like we used to in years past. You don't see you very rarely see the hand holding and the sitting close to each other, the gentle touches, the whisperings. A lot of times, and part of it is the cell phones and the tablets, and everybody's in their own world instead of paying attention. So it tends to take away from a lot of it. And yeah, and like we said, food is our love language.
Mhm.
Food, we do. It doesn't matter. You had a death in the, like she said, a death in the family. We're gonna bring you a plate. You got engaged, let's have a party. You having a baby, let's have a party. We we like to eat. Somebody just came into the job. Oh, we're gonna welcome them with a potluck. Oh, okay. Somebody got a birthday. We're gonna have a birthday potluck. It's something that because it's something that we've always had access to. We gonna make it. Another way I found is that music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music is another one of our love languages. We got a song for everything.
Yeah.
We got a song for everything.
For sure.
You sad when you whatever. There's a song for it
Yeah.
somewhere to tell your whole entire spirit.
Exactly.
So from the Mary J. Blige, I ain't crying no more.
What about Lenny Williams? I love
Right.
Yeah.
Here we got Fire and Desire by Rick James. Come on now.
Yeah.
To Mahalia Jackson, and we talking about gospel and let's go to church. Any way you want to go,
Yeah.
there's a song for it.
For sure.
I mean, that's who we are. We can make a beat, something, you find us tapping and all of that. So yeah, I completely agree with you all. So the next question. And it feed off of what you guys are talking about. Who taught you what intimacy was? How
Okay.
did you learn intimacy in your life?
Okay.
May I answer?
Go ahead.
Okay, so who taught me intimacy in my life? I would say first my parents because
Yeah.
how because of how they interacted with each other. And now it's even now that I'm grown, it's even more prevalent because it's like compared to what I see now, their intimacy is totally different than what like a millennial intimacy is. And it's wonderful to see because it's like, my dad has had health issues to the point where he's unable to drive long distances. So my mom would drive everywhere, and sometimes as caregivers you experience burnout. So when that happens, I'm always willing to, like, if I'm with them, I'm always willing to drive. But my mom just makes sure that my dad is taken care of and that he is protected because of, like, and even before the COVID-19 virus, like it was it was just um it was just crazy because he can't lift heavy things. And my mom's best friend, case in point, my mom's best friend passed away, her very best friend of 20 plus years. She passed away of cancer in 2019. And we had to go to Georgia in the summertime.
Oh, man.
Welcome to the South.
Yeah.
Right.
For this funeral, we had to go to Georgia. We had to go to Georgia in July.
Ooh. August is
We
where
It was nice and warm for you.
we were not east. We were not West Georgia. We were East Georgia. We were in the Low Country.
Yeah.
Hot.
All
Hot. So,
Don't talk about my town like that.
so my dad,
right.
so my dad goes down and he's trying to like hang with everybody because, like, like they down in Georgia, they celebrate death a little different. They celebrate death like it's New Orleans. They having a party, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's having a party. My dad doesn't drink, but but they had like Coca-Colas. So he was drinking Coca-Colas after Coca-Colas, and then finally the day of the funeral happens. My dad, it's July now. My dad had on a whole 3-piece black suit because he's a man of God. And
Right now.
and he carries the casket because they needed pallbearers. And my mom didn't know. So my mom was like, so when we came back, my dad actually passed out at a restaurant. And my mom was like, I don't care, cut everything that you need to cut off of him. I said, and you know me, like, I'm like, Mom, you let them cut the Polo Ralph Lauren off of him? Like, like my mom was like, I don't care about that. My mom said something. She was like, I don't care about them clothes. I care about my husband. And at that time, my husband was laid out, pouring sweat on the floor in the middle of a restaurant. I don't care about that. So it's that kind of, like, in sickness and in health kind of vows. It's that kind of intimacy that I'm seeing from my parents right now. And it's the till death do us part kind of intimacy. It's the for better or worse kind of intimacy. That's the intimacy that I'm seeing in my parents because, like, in the last 5 years, it's been better and it's been worse. So,
Yeah.
like, my dad took care of my mom when she was grieving because that's what he does. My dad is a caretaker. But then the roles were reversed, and my dad had to be the one being taken care of. And my dad is an old school sergeant first class, retired. Like, that's
You know it. Army strong, baby.
that's not easy for him to do. So for him to take a back seat and understand that he has limitations, it took a good 2 years for him because he couldn't just sit down. Like, he was retired from the Army, but then he went to go work for the state. And then he had to retire from the state, and that was it. And my dad was like, "Is this really it?" And I was like, "Dad," and I had to keep telling him, I was like, "Daddy, you ain't got no job." I was like, "Daddy, you don't have a job anymore. Like, you can sit down and you can do whatever you can say no." And finally, like, I graduated college, and they moved into their dream house in the same week. I said, and my dad, when he got settled in that house, my dad was like, I did what I was supposed to do. I took care of my wife. I took care of my daughter. I got her through college. And I did everything I was supposed to do. And now my dad is more at peace now, but he can be taken care of. And so like that brings tears to my eyes, because it's like, what, like, that's a parental intimacy. That's also a marital intimacy, because it's like, what, how can you it's the ease, because my dad was really trying to work until I got out of college. And I was like, and he couldn't. He would have literally been in the grave if he would have kept working. And I saw that on his face. I saw it on his face that he was tired of work. He just could not go on. And like, when you notice stuff like that as a wife, as a daughter, it's like, okay, something has got to change. So like, that's the kind of intimacy that I'm seeing. And then the millennial intimacy is different, because like millennial men are becoming more affectionate. They're like, oh, I do want to hold hands, or I do want to have quality time.
Yeah,
But also,
sure.
but they're also like the protectors and the providers. And it's really interesting to see, because they're coming from the hardcore dads who was like, oh, I'm not taking no mess. Or they're coming from the hardcore single moms who like paid all the bills, and like they didn't have time to hug on you because they were too busy grinding to make a better life for you and for you to not see a struggle. But now they're wanting to receive that love and reciprocate that love. So that's the kind of things that I'm seeing in different, because it's like, my baby boomer parents are not there. You're not going to see them holding hands, but what you will see them doing is be together.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
I love
they're
that.
be
That was
together.
beautiful.
You see, and it was crazy, because my mom was like, my mom was grieving her best friend, but every couple minutes my mom was like, where's your dad? Where's your dad? Where's your dad? And my dad would just be sitting in the chair, minding his business, drinking the Coca-Cola that he wasn't supposed to drink because he was diabetic.
That's what we do. That's it. We know we ain't supposed to have that Coke, that soda pop, but we gonna drink it anyway. That's good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy, because at that point my dad needed to be taken care of, but he was actually a caretaker for my great uncle. And then he had to go up and see about his father. So it's very different seeing somebody who's so strong, who's taking care of somebody else when they need to be taken care of. And then like, that's a whole, it's different. It's just different. I could go on and on about like the different relationships that I've seen.
So what you're saying is intimacy is taught differently for different people. Like what I gathered and what I was thinking is, my parents first taught me intimacy as parents, but my husband taught me intimacy on another level. My children are completely different, and that's a whole other aspect. We have 4 children, and I have to be intimate with them in different ways. Like all of my children are really affectionate, but that's because we were always really affectionate with them. But the almost 20-year-old, that's a graduated level of intimacy. We interact different from when she was 12, from when she was 6. And then we have 2 almost 10-year-olds and a 12-year-old. Right now, the 12-year-old is at that level of intimacy where we gonna get real intimate when I backhand you, because she's just at that age where I don't like her and she doesn't like me. And I'm trying to adjust to that as a parent. The almost 10-year-old,
sometimes you don't like your children. Let's
right,
normalize that.
and that's okay. I love her to life, but at this time, and I can remember not liking my mama from about the age of 12 till about 19. And then like 19, I fell in love with her all over again, because our relationship was different. The level of intimacy was different, because we had to see each other on another level, another aspect. She went from being my mama who is telling me what to do to my mama who is guiding me through life. So I think the levels and the where you learn intimacy depends on which intimacy you're dealing with.
Right. I'm enjoying.
I would agree with that. I
with my mom.
would agree with that.
Yeah, definitely agree with
I
that.
would say for me, life life taught me intimacy. As a child, I learned intimacy, good, bad, and ugly, from my grandparents and my parents. Um, and then as you get older, things happen, and the world roughs you up a little bit in what that intimacy world is. Um,
Yeah.
and so, uh, and then you have that what's the term that's used now? Sexualizing everything. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah,
intimacy is not about sexualizing everything. Uh, but
Yeah.
but that is what was presented to me at a certain point in my life. So I had to learn different, and I have 3 daughters and I have a son. So I had to teach my daughters different, that intimacy isn't about, just because you like to wear a halter top and some shorts doesn't mean that somebody has to speak to you inappropriately. That's something
right,
that you feel good in for yourself, and that's
right,
fine. But intimacy also can be being completely clothed and leaving something to the mind, you know.
right.
Um, and again, I was speaking before. There are 5 generations in my family alive, and so when you talk about 5 generations, teaching each generation, taking a bit of something from each generation. I learned that intimacy can be very sexy, fully clothed, from my grandmother. I learned the confidence of being okay with my femininity from my mother. As I walked into my adulthood, I rested in that and said, I'm kind of cute. And I was able to kind of walk in that a little bit. And not only that, but as an adult, I learned differently when I was married. It was different when I was married. Intimacy was, very different when I was married. What my husband liked to see me in, what he didn't like to see me in, and how I balanced that. Just because he likes to see me in something doesn't mean I'm comfortable wearing
Oh, whoa,
it. And
okay.
Okay,
and
true. That's
and just because I like to wear something doesn't mean he wants to see me in it.
Yeah.
That's right.
yes,
Those are some very valid things. So that's what I mean when I say life taught me intimacy. It taught me the ebb and flow. And then, when you get to be a certain age, intimacy now for me is a lot different in what I will accept and what I won't accept. Um, I was more willing in my 20s to accept a lot of different things. I won't say any old thing, but a lot of different things I was able and willing to accept in my 20s that I'm not doing in my 40s.
Yeah.
right.
I'm not, you
I
know.
think we all did. In our
So,
20s, we accepted mediocrity.
Yes,
but
yeah.
okay, and I will say this. I think that I honor the millennials for being able to say that in their 20s. I am not standing for
That's
mediocre
right.
men or mediocre women.
Hold
Or
up.
no, no, no,
You
no,
gotta
no, 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 no.
define
I'm saying
that.
that. I'm saying that on both sides. On both sides. Not don't settle for mediocre women. Don't settle for mediocre men. I mean, I'm part of the LGBT community, so I am that. I'm not gonna settle for just any old
Right.
body,
Yeah.
period.
right,
You
right,
know, um,
right.
but it took me to get to be in my 40s to learn that, to understand that, where most of the millennials who are in their 20s, coming up on their 30s and such, they stand and walk in that truth now,
They
where
Yeah,
do.
it took us, it took us 20 years to figure that out.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another, you did touch on something that I meant to touch on while I was speaking, but I got into my dad, and my dad and mom, and that's a really wonderful thing for me to see. But in college, I had I had 2 experiences with men where they they taught me what intimacy was in a relationship. And so it was my freshman, no, actually I went to high school on the campus of Fayetteville State University. So it was my freshman year, but I was actually a junior in high school, and I was allowed to go on campus. And I met this guy, and he would always walk me to my next class and carry my books and open my door. And even when I walked a little bit ahead of him, he actually, this is ultra chivalrous here, y'all. He actually expected me to stand at the door and wait until he got there and open my door. And he
That's a
would
good
yell,
brother right there.
and he would yell at me 20 feet away and say, "I dare you to open the door." And that's what he was saying. Like my books in his hand, my book bag on his back. "I dare you to open that door." And I would be like,
Yeah. Hey, I
and
love
so, and so like it taught me that, like, okay, so like now I expect for men to open the door for me. If I'm dating you, I expect you to open the door for me. He opened the car door for me. Even if I was driving, he would be like, "Don't open the car door. I'll come around and open it for you." He opened every door. He made sure that I was okay. He gave me flowers when on Valentine's Day. Like he got me a dozen of peach roses. My favorite flower is roses, any color. And I was just like, he listened to what I was saying. He listened to what I was doing, and he allowed me to see that. So, and another guy, it was the fact that he saw what I was doing. We were just chilling, and I was letting this man play 2K in peace. And he was like, the best you ever looked was when I love these braids, so I've been getting them on and off for 10 years. So you had your braids in, and you had your hair tied up, and you had on my sweats. He was like, that was the best you ever looked. He didn't care nothing about me wearing makeup or being cute. It's the fact that I let this man play 2K in peace. I just sat there and read my book and didn't nag him and didn't complain about that 2K and his PS4, PS5, or whatever. That was what he enjoyed about me. And so it was that fact of like, there's no pretense. Like, I don't have to fake it with you. I can be vulnerable with you. I can be open. And it's the fact that like I show up at UPA with my headscarf on, and you're not gonna judge me. You know, it's those kind of things that kind of taught me that like that's the kind of partner that you want. You want somebody to be able to take care of you, but also somebody who is gonna let you be yourself. And that's the kind of intimacy that I am looking for now. And like I always value those lessons because like they both men were very influential in my dating life, because it's like, I'm not gonna, if I'm dating you and my friend treats me better than you do and I'm dating you, you have got to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're not gonna and I'm sorry to sound so arrogant, but I'm like, in my head I'm like, you're not gonna open my door.
No. So you got the standard, right? So you have the standard set. So that man is gonna rise to that standard. You understand what I'm saying? That's how I came up. My dad was a go-getter. Like, my dad taught me intimacy. My dad was like, this is what you're gonna wear. You're gonna look, handsome. He taught me the cologne and stuff to wear. I was wearing Brute when I was like 10 years old. I was like, Dad, he was like, you wanna smell good, don't you? I was like, yeah. He was like, hey, you gotta walk with some confidence. My dad was, I loved him. My mom taught me how to woo a woman. She was like, look, no woman ain't gonna allow you to be talking to her any kind of way. You better show that woman some respect. And that goes back to, like I said, with my dad. My dad would always play old songs. He would play like Marvin Gaye, freaking Al Green, Luther Vandross. You know what I'm saying? And those songs taught me, Treat Her Like a Lady, Temptations. He would always play these songs. And I was like, Dad, why are you playing these? He was like, because I want to get you ready, when you meet your woman. And my parents actually took me on my first date. They pretty much showed me the way, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was a 15-year-old kid. You know what I'm saying? I had this girl I had a crush on, and they was like, all right, well, I'm going to show you how to do this. And like you said with music is pretty much my big love language, because I'm half hood, I'm half holy. I will pray with you all day. I'll go to church with you. I'll shout. I'll do whatever. And then I'll come home to some Tyrese Sweet Lady. That's just who I am. So, yeah, I mean, I believe that you show intimacy at all times. Even with my wife, I'm going to show intimacy making her dinner, or just doing active service, cleaning the house, taking care of the kids. Whatever she wants me to do, I'm gonna do it. And that's why I like this conversation. It's teaching me a lot about myself to help me say, at the level I need to rise to the level. So this is good.
Okay, so I want to answer the question. So, who taught you what intimacy was? And I'm inclined to agree with Jamila Javonda. It wasn't necessarily what I saw at home. It was life that taught me relationship. And like Kayla said, my ex, regardless of whatever we went through, from the time I opened my eyes to the time I went to bed, I was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I'm wearing hair standing on top of my head. I ain't brushed no teeth, nothing. Good morning, beautiful. But that was our thing, and that's what I needed at that time. So any relationship I'm in at this point, and especially being part of the LGBT community, any relationship that I am in, you have to have a certain level of understanding. I give you my disclaimers up front, because like they say, I'm not in my 20s where I just took what I was given. I'm in, excuse the expression, I'm in fucking 40s.
Yeah.
Let me tell you who I am. Let me be honest with you, so you can walk into this thing with your eyes open. So if I get to a point where I say, you know what, you can walk out, leave me alone, you have no reason to ask for what and why and what's the reason, because I told you when we first started talking, this is who I am. I'm not going to ask you to change yourself, but I want you to know this is who I am. This is who I'm going to continue to be. I'm at times I'm touchy feely. I want to love on you, and at times give me 50 feet because I don't want to be bothered.
Right. And I
learned that over time, over life, even with my children. They know it's times when they come jump in my bed and we all snuggled up, and you look around and we all sleep together. But then there are times where I say, you know what, my room door is locked and I need. So the intimacy, but I'm also in that same aspect teaching them. Know your boundaries, know what you can handle, be honest about it, be transparent, because if you're going to be with someone, you need to be able to say, hey, this is who I am. I don't want to mislead you. I don't want to, misunderstandings. This is who I am today. So you're either going to like me or you're not going to like me, but I'm not going to change unless I feel like I need to change. You can't make me.
No.
And we need this to be understanding, because I need to teach you how to treat me, just like I need to learn how to treat you.
That's right.
So whoever I'm with, I need to know you. I need to know your likes and dislikes, because that's the only way I can learn what I can and can't do. The woman I'm dating now, I know food. Honey, I'm gonna make your favorite meal. You coming over? All right. But also a ride or die. I look up and they want to just go riding. Okay, come on, let's go. Gonna put my tennis shoes on. She don't want me to do nothing but get in the car so she can talk. Come on, let's go. Then she need to ride, but that's her language. Right. So understanding those differences starts to help you know. But we both love music, so in the midst of all of that, the music's playing, and you find us in the car jamming off key because neither one of us are singles, but we enjoy every piece of that music, every ounce of it, from the deep parts of our spirit. We enjoy whatever song we playing across the ages, and you never can tell what we're gonna be listening to. But that's how we learn, and that's how that's how I'm learning to pass that on. Miss Taylor, let's get your let's get your piece in before we go to the next question. Lay. If she's talking, I can't hear. Hello?
She's kicking me out.
Okay.
I'm gonna say that I actually got intimacy from my uncles. They were real. I'm gonna say players. They were real players in me growing up. All of them had multiple kids, and they had multiple households of women, but they always took me with them. And with each house, every person, every woman, they treated well love but differently, and I didn't understand, that at the time until I got a little older. But I was taught, most of my family is military, so I was taught really early on, about the opening of the doors. My, sisters on here can attest. I don't play that. When you're around me, I open the door. I close the door. Hell, I put you in your seatbelt to make sure that your seatbelt locked and you good to go. My uncle them my uncles taught me that, generally showing concern for a woman especially, and men, I would say too, but for a woman especially gets you a long way. So kind of in that sense, I was like, well, you're gonna always be happy if you treat a woman right. And with my grandfather, it was like he always said, happy wife, happy life. And I seen him for many, 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 many years through good and bad times, always cater to my grandmother. Even at one time when they split up, and my grandmother would have us go over there, and he'd have, the money ready to pay the bills or whatever, even though they weren't together, wouldn't even have speaking. And he was like, I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. That's still my wife. I'm supposed to take care of her. He still would cater
Yep.
to her. He would still kiss her on her forehead, even though she was mad and wanted to cut him. And I'm one of those people that I really truly believe, on not going to sleep mad. Um, so, I could be pissed off all day. We get home, we need to talk about it. We can't talk about it. I'm going to hold you and pray about it. And I'm going to release it before we go to bed, because I don't want to take that energy to sleep. I don't want to dream about it. I don't want to wake up to it. So I think, for me, one of my main love languages is communication. I need you to talk to me. I need to understand what you're feeling. I need to understand what you're going through. But from my sisters and, a past partner of mine, I had to also understand the process of allowing the person you love or care about to process a situation. That was something very, very hard for me. Michelle can tell you. I didn't understand it because I felt like I wasn't being a good spouse or a good friend, a good sister, if if I wasn't there for you. But it's I learned that it's a such thing as being too much. A person really needs their space at times. And I was like, no, I'm there. I want you to know that I'm here. But when a person is going through, something, sometimes you got to let them process that feeling. So right now in my life, I'm currently experiencing on how to process, um, things to be able to allow that intimacy in my life with my friends and my loved ones. Because it's not an easy task. But I would generally say for me, I learned intimacy from the men in my family.
Okay, okay. So, question from the audience. So are women, in your opinions, are women willing to teach an uncultured man the level of intimacy that you expect in this life? Are you willing to take the time to mold your partner into who you need them to be or who you desire in this situation? Um,
Mm.
and for Spencer, are you willing to be molded by your spouse or your wife? Are you willing to be molded if you're not doing something? How open are you to that? We're gonna start with Jamila this time.
Miss Jamila, we can't hear
Jamila,
you.
we can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess for me, that's a bit of a tricky question because, um, to some extent, the people that I date, I expect them to, um, per what I'm attracted to. I'll say it that way. Per what I'm attracted to, I expect them to kind of have that level. Uncultured. um, okay, I'll say it this way. I recently asked a person that is very near and dear to me, simply teach me how to love you.
Oh,
I think that that is such a powerful question and statement. How can I love you if you don't show me how? Because way often we do things for people because it's something that we like, and we expect you to like what we like, and that's not always the case. So if I am going, if I genuinely want to learn to like a person, I need to know what you like. I need to know how you want to be touched, how you want to be talked to. Because if I'm talking to you too rough, because I can do that sometimes, pull back a little bit. Okay, I hear you. If I can accommodate that without compromising who I am as a person, um, I think I think that it is also important that for the question, if for an uncultured man, uh, for people in general, you have to be open and willing to learn. Because if you're not open and willing to learn, you know, what somebody is saying, okay, I didn't really like, I don't like that. Don't do that. How you spoke to me, the way you spoke to me didn't feel good. It wasn't comfortable. At that point that you um, aren't open to hear those things and make said adjustments, then no, I can't. I can't teach you. I can't teach you how to love me. You're not open and willing to do so. So for me, the biggest answer to that question is maybe.
So, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt anyone.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Any, no, I didn't want to take over. Anybody else wanted to say something before I did?
No, you ladies can go, and then I'll give my spill.
Okay. And I'm sorry, ma'am. I forgot your name in the pink sweater.
Javonda.
Miss Javonda, did you want to say something before I say something? No? Okay. So, I don't want to step on nobody's toes or interject. That's one of my things that I'm really sensitive about, is not over talking anyone. But anyway, I think love languages is real, and you should love someone in their love language, and they should reciprocate in yours. Meaning, that if your love language is acts of service, you like to do things for them, um, or you are appreciative of people doing stuff for you, then they should love you in that. Or was it receiving gifts? So if your love language is receiving gifts, then your significant other should buy little gifts or do something to appreciate you. And if their love language is acts of service, let them do things for you, because that is how they're gonna love you. And I realized that my love language is quality time, but it's not essentially physical touch. And and as a black man in a relationship, it's kind of hard to grasp that. I've been from what I've experienced is that where, like, I don't want you to, we can lay in the bed together, but I don't want you to touch me. Like, that is not how I show love. It's us watching a movie together on the couch. That is how I show love. Or if like we're being intimate in a non-physical way, don't, like, I'm not a cuddler, or I'm not gonna really hold your hand a lot. And I realized that because I was in a relationship, and my ex told me that he realized that he realized that I wasn't gonna, like, touch him, but that was his love language. So I had to actively, like, get over that and love him in his love language, because physical touch was his love language. He liked being hugged, he liked being kissed, he liked being held, and he liked to cuddle. And I was like, this is not out of my comfort, but I'm willing to love you in your love language, because he reciprocated by giving me quality time. And it was one time where we were at his house together, and I don't know, I was I was I was tired. So I just fell into his lap, and he was like, he didn't know how to react, because that's something that I never did before. And he was so happy about that. And I was like, I didn't realize that this is something that you enjoyed, and this is something that you really wanted me to do, because I thought I was loving you enough in your love language, but apparently he needed more. And so I had to cater to that, because you want a successful relationship or a marriage, you have to understand your partner's love language, and you have to be able to love them in theirs, and you have to be able to reciprocate in yours. That makes sense.
I would say, just to slightly be a devil's advocate.
I'm here for it.
A lot of times we take it and say, okay, this is my love language and that's your love language. Um, so years ago, my bishop, I was at a marital conference with my husband, and there was a statement that was made that was so powerful after we took that love language test. Everybody, all the couples took the love language test, and they said that now that you know your spouse's love language, your job is to take their love language and make them happy. And in turn, they take your love language and make you happy. Far too often, we take our love languages and say, okay, this is my love language, so this is how I'm going to love you. No, 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 no. You have to take their love language and make them happy.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times we take that and, well, what's your love language? But if you're not listening and hearing and seeing and feeling what that is for them, and then dissecting that to make sure that you yourself can accommodate their love language, even though that's not on the top of your bar, then, it's a complicated thing when really it doesn't have to be. Love language is not complicated. Everybody essentially has all 5 love languages. It's just based on how they trickle down in your life.
Right.
So if my primary love language is physical intimacy, but your primary love language is gifts, okay, I give you gifts so that I can get a gift. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think that more people need to really look at it that way, where they really don't. A lot of people don't look at that in that manner. So I think that's really important, when we're talking about this so often right now, in all of the generations, we're throwing that, well, what's your love language? What's your love language? So when I say teach me how to love you, I want to understand what your love languages are so that I can love you properly.
Right. And that's exactly what I was trying to articulate. I wanted to actively love him properly in his language. That's what I wanted to do. So when I sat on his lap, that's something that was his love language. And he was just so content just letting me sit there, and we were watching craziness, but it was something that he really enjoyed. Yeah. I really like that perspective.
Yeah, one of me and Michelle's sorors said that, it is one of those things where it is something that you have to continue in a relationship. You can't just jump into the beginning of a relationship and ask what's your love languages, and okay. But it's one of those things. Grandmama used to say, don't start nothing that you're not willing to keep going. That you're not, if you start cooking for him, don't stop cooking for him because you're mad, We're not holding out because we're mad, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't start nothing that you're not willing to continue doing. And that's something that we definitely, as a culture need to understand, because I have friends in other cultures that I had a girlfriend really check me because I was mad. I was mad at a boyfriend, and she told me, no, ma'am, you don't do that. You allow him to go to work and make his money. You don't leave him, stressed and upset while he's going to work. You bless him and you tell him to have a nice day. And then when you come home, you can further communicate the situation now the situation has decompressed and you can talk about it. Oh, wait a minute, that worked. We don't teach our children this stuff. We rise above and we blow it out of proportion all day long. And now, heaven help us, we have text messaging. So we're texting about the situation all day, you know? And they can't focus on what they need to focus on. That's not helping with the love language. If you know that quality time and think about, you know, even when you're having a heated disagreement with your person, you know, what are their love languages? If you understand their love languages, you can better communicate what your frustrations are too.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's something that is a lifelong lesson. Always learning, always listening to your partner. And I think I had a conversation with somebody a few days ago about longevity and how relationships, there are no long-lasting relationships anymore in a lot of most of the generations outside of boomers. Boomers still have decently long relationships, and definitely the silent generation. But when you talk about Gen Xers and millennials, you don't have long-lasting relationships. But when you start doing that, when you start listening and learning and communicating from the senses, from your five senses and from your five love languages, you know, I'm a firm believer that things can be absolutely beautiful.
Okay. All right. Miss Shavonna, do you have anything to weigh in on this one?
You said that we are in our fucking 40s. At this point, it's a great thing that I already have a husband established. It's because you have to be on a certain level in order for me to even give you that time and attention. Now, because we are established, we've been together almost 15 years. There are ups and downs. So there are times when his love language is different, and I can vibe with that. However, someone new, it will be really, really difficult if something happened with our relationship for me to have the capacity to teach somebody how to love me and how I should love them. Not saying that I won't do it. It just would not be an easy task. I'm paid to teach. I am an educator. So in order to do that for free, that's not going to sit well with my spirit. So there's going to have to be a certain level that you're already at. But for those that already have an established relationship with, it kind of goes back to what we were saying with the intimacy. There are different levels of intimacy, different types of intimacy with the different people in your life. So as I'm evolving and changing as a person, yes, my husband loves me in the language that I need. And today it may be touch. Tomorrow it may be a gift. And he's willing to do whatever he needs to do to make sure I'm happy. And the same way with me. But somebody new, probably not. It would take an act of Congress and Lord willing and the kingdom rise, because I'm just not in that mindset right now. And it could be because I'm already here.
Right.
Okay. For me with that question, I'm willing to teach, to, like you say, to some extent. Understand, I'm gonna give you all the disclaimers up front because of my 40 plus status. I'm going to love you, and I will tell you I will love you authentically and I will love you honestly. I ain't perfect, by no means necessary, but here is what you're walking into, so you need to make a decision on whether you're gonna stay here. Because when I love with all of me, good, bad, and different. Now, back in the day, it was different. I could bend and I can change, and I would, at this point, I am who I am, and this is what you have to deal with. With that being said, the fluid movement of intimacy and what is required is a very real thing. Because sometimes I need the touch, but then sometimes all I need is the words of affirmation. I need you to tell me that you're thinking about me. I need that random text message to say, "Hey, babe, I love you," and that's all. I mean, you may not do anything else. Sometimes that's all I need when I'm having a rough day is to know I'm on your mind.
Right.
Sometimes I need the whole kit and caboodle. I need you to come on over here. I need to snuggle up because they done got on my nerves because common sense is not common no more. And I'm gonna need you to come and keep me from saying some stuff that might get me fired. So I mean, it's the real, it's the ups, it's the downs. It's the ins and the outs. And I have to know when to leave you alone, just like you have to know when to leave me alone. Because there are moments when I'm a Leo. There are moments when my temper and my claws about to come out. And at my age, I recognize that. And when I back away from you is give me a minute. Because I don't want to lash out on you because I'm in a jacked up mood.
Right.
So you have to recognize who I am and where I am in that moment. Tell me I love you and I'll call you later. And that's the most you can do at that moment because my claws are out. And right now, anyone who comes around me is a victim of circumstance. And my mouth wouldn't get reckless. Let's be real. So let me have my moment. Let me channel all this back in. And then come on, let's go. I got you. You have to know where you are in this mix.
Right. And it's crazy that you said that because I was in a relationship and I promise y'all, I've never been reckless with this man. I've never been reckless. I didn't cuss him out. I never yelled at him. I didn't do anything that could be considered, well, I can't say I didn't do anything, but for the most part, I was not such a toxic person in the relationship, right? And so I said something. I said something about my mouth being reckless, and he said, yes, your mouth can be reckless and you are ruthless when you are upset. And I said, wait, how do you know? And he was like, I just know. And I was like, but I never turned it on him. And it's crazy because he recognized that in me, and the fact that like I tried to not turn that on him so that at the point we were cohabitating so that our space could be safe, could be a space of solitude and solace. So it's really interesting that he noticed that because he probably seen me when I was mad and I say stuff without thinking it, and I don't realize how hurtful it can be if I had said it to the person that I wanted to say it to. So I think that's where he got it from. But it's kind of like, oh, I need to back up. I need to back it up because I'm also a fire sign. I need to check that because I don't want to be reckless and ruthless all the time. I actually want to be very nice and calm and collected most of the time. But also I don't want you to take my love for granted. And then that brings me back to what was said previously, which is the love languages. I don't want you to pretend to love me in my love language just to get what you want. I want you to do it genuinely, and I want you to do it without recourse. I want you to do it even if you don't get a reward. I want you to do it because you are interested in me or you are on the path of loving me. To do it because you want to, not because you see a reward.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
Spencer, let's hear from you.
So I'm gonna be completely transparent with you guys. So I went 7 years, right, and living with my wife in the wrong love language. Like we were on the brink of almost calling it quits. All right. So I was in the military, and I went to a marriage counselor, and that's when they broke down the love language. I've never heard anything about it. So me and my wife looked at the movie called Fire, and basically it was infidelities, and the woman almost left the man, but the man had to do whatever he had to do to get her back. And I kind of felt like, you know, what was I doing wrong? I was loving my love language. Like I was loving her in physical touch. and then she's a freaking, quality time person. I didn't. So we guys were talking about being molded into it. That's what I had to do because I literally was like, I was like, what am I doing wrong? How can I fix it? We were going to Bible study, counseling. So that's why I said I love older ones. My wife's older than me, not that much, but she's enough. So I think for me, sometimes a lot of us can touch, but that doesn't mean that you're primary physical touch. Because I thought I was a physical touch, and I am because we love sex. We are our nature. But at the same time, I'm finding out more of a words about person based on like my daily life, how I interact with people, and even on my job. So um, yeah. So that's just me. Say all men who are out here, or even for your audience, I think that you should be just your significant other, things that be intimate because sometimes they might not know. They can have genuine intent, but they just might be lacking it or not be aware of it. Like you said, I gave my wife quality gifts her my whole entire marriage, but it's not what she wanted. She wanted my time. And I was like, okay, now I'm starting to get it. So that's why when you guys were talking about, your bishop saying this, it resonated in me because I was like, you know what? She's talking truth because I'm going there, and I'm telling people that's why you say marriages don't last because people are not authentic. They're going there and they're not ready for the fight. They're ready for the marriage and the scene, but what goes on behind closed doors and you're fussing and fighting, you don't understand. You know what I'm saying? And you're bickering. Sometimes you just need a moment to cool off, like you said, going to sleep angry. I used to do that. I used to be a real angry dude. Just go hit the gym, come back, and it didn't help me. I just felt like I was Superman, but it wasn't solving my problem. So that's why I say, when you're talking to your spouse, you need to get your anger out. And I'm in no means was I like a physical like about to do anything. But what I'm saying is I was just, I did whatever it takes for me to get me peace. But at the same time, it wasn't. So yeah, I went to therapy. I'm not gonna lie. I got my help, and me and my wife, we're going on 11 years this October. I'm glad, and she's my soulmate. She really is my soulmate. So that's all my 2 cents.
Okay, awesome. Next question, and I want to really hear this. What would you teach your children about intimacy?
So let me ask this because I was on Facebook and I got into a heated debate with somebody about this with the kids, right? Because there was a picture for holding his son, and then his son was like 16 years old. A lot of guys saying gay or whatever, and even me to a point, I was like, my son's 16 years old. He's gonna have to get up off me because I'm trying to get him to be with a woman, But it took some sisters to really change my mindset because they saying I was portraying toxic masculinity, and I wasn't looking at it from an alpha male perspective, as in, I need to teach my son how to, be a leader. I don't need you getting a baby, but at the same time, if you're confident in you and he's relying on you, then that's the love that you should give him, and that's something that I really understand until a lot of people kept talking to me and say, you know what, you need to change your perspective. But that's something I'm going with my son and even my daughters, to it's hard as a father with girls because you don't want to give them a false expectation of reality and think the world is perfect. Really. So I just try to portray a father figure for them and then make sure they understand choosing a man, at least choose somebody who's going to, I'm not cussing your mom. Don't think you're supposed to go and get somebody who's doing that to you because I would never do that. So the love, this is my as far as teaching empathy to the kids, as far as also them knowing how to love each other because it's family. Everything.
Okay.
With with me, just to offer an anecdote, our son is about to be 10, and we live in a mixed neighborhood, and he they stay on the street, but they do a lot of running around, basketball, football, trampolines. They do what boys do. But there was this one particular young man who called my son the N word, and he and the girls were outside with him when it happened. And this was not a particular talk that we had had with our children. They knew about it, but we realized we had never told them how to respond to it. So it happened multiple times. And the last time it happened, my son punched the dude.
That's
And the
right. Put hands on.
the young man is of Indian descent. I don't know, but they're not white, they're not black. I don't know if they're Pakistani or something like that. I don't know. But we realized that we had not taught him how to respond. That whole thing, it ended up me talking to his mom, daddy threatening to call the police, and it's like, we know the number to the police too. How about you step down here and have a conversation with my husband? But that's a whole other thing. But in that sense, that young man was always available for my son to interact with and play with. So he was excited about that because he always had somebody to go outside and play with. And he dealt with that because that person was always available. So I'm using this as an example. With our children, we had to teach them. Sometimes it won't be the most desirable situation. It won't be what you want. You would want somebody to hang out with and play with on the street, but they may not be the best person for you. So that is one thing we had to teach our children with intimacy, and we had that. We had that opportunity, and we made it a learning moment for them. But in that same sense, he has a little sister. The young man has a little sister that my daughter played with. And it was like, okay, understand this. If they're teaching their son that, they're teaching their daughter that. So y'all go ahead and cut ties with that, because I bail money only goes so far. We got property bonds, we got that, but that's just not something I'm willing to expose y'all to continuously. So in teaching them about intimacy, that was one thing, because if that is your friend would never speak to you in that manner, especially not using that word continuously, repeatedly, to the point where you told me for about 3 weeks, he said it. Oh, we'd be playing basketball, and he said that, sweetie, they're saying that in their household, which means they're belittling you behind your back. There's no telling what they're saying. So no. So that was one thing that we needed to teach them with intimacy, and we did. Otherwise, with my children, is teaching them to love themselves for who they are. That goes back to it as well. Go ahead. Somebody was saying something. Oh.
No.
But teaching them to love themselves. And that was part of that lesson we taught them, is just because somebody else is saying that does not mean you are that. You are what God made you. You are, at this point, you are what we tell you are. We would never tell you that you're anything negative. Yes, we may tell you that your behavior is undesirable right now, but you are a young king. You are a young queen. You descend from royalty. You are the child of God. So act as such in all situations. So we
Amen.
teaching them that way in being intimate. And if you start there, it trickles down into everything else. We have to tell them sometimes, you don't treat your brother and sister like that. You respect me. If I'm pulling up with a trunk full of groceries that you're very well going to eat. Get your behind out here and help me get these groceries. That is intimacy. That is showing your love. That is being intimate with me, because when I'm in here getting intimate with these pots and pans, you very well gonna come in there and get intimate with your plate. So come in here and help me.
Up close and personal with that plate. You real close. All right, Mr. Miller.
Okay, so intimacy, as to show my children intimacy, I have to first love me. Because if I don't love me, then they don't learn to love themselves. And then intimacy became from the time that they were babies. You're great. You're beautiful. You're awesome. You know, you're more than a conqueror. Always feeding those positive things into them. So I have a range. My oldest is 24. My youngest is 10. I personally live a polyamorous lifestyle. So my youngest is my son, and he's 10. His father is very, very active in his life, but it's important for me that he sees a variety of what intimacy in terms of men look like. His uncles are very present in his life. His cousins are very present in his life. The men that I date, I'm probably more selective with the men that I now that I have a son than before I had a son, when it was just my girl. And the reason behind that is because I want to make sure not only that my son treats me to a level and standard that I expect him to be as a man, but also that he's not out in this world making me look bad. Open the door. So anytime he's around any of my gentlemen friends, he knows before they even get to the door, he's already opening the door. That's who he is. And that for him, his love language is words of affirmation and gifts. I know that about my son. So anytime he's doing that, I know it's important. Thank you, son. I appreciate you. When he goes and he makes up my bed, thank you, baby. I really appreciate that. That is his intimate language. I took the time because for me, as a single mother, he is my biggest challenge. Girls became easy for me. I grew up a tomboy. So in the beginning, girls weren't easy for me. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? But as I grew, and so now I have 3 girls, so that femininity became very natural for me. Be a lady. It's okay. Whatever your gender. I have one daughter who is pansexual and very healthy relationship. I have another one that also lives a polyamorous lifestyle. But they have a standard in terms of what their intimacy from, whoever their partner is, in terms of whether or not they expect them to open doors, and and that goes for men and women. Whether there is that masculine feminine energy, there is an expectation in terms of how they live their life and intimacy. But I am grateful to see how they do that. My 17-year-old right now, she's spending the last 2 years of high school, and she's living with their father. I appreciate that because she is getting a very intimate, if you will, moment with her father to be able to feel and express the love that she needs from daddy, because I can't give her daddy, and so that was huge for me, because I know most women And I'll be honest, I was like that. Would freak out. What do you mean you want to live with your mom? That doesn't make sense because I'm mommy, you know. So it was a huge step for me, but I recognized that I have given her what I needed to give her as a young woman. And there are some lessons that she needed to learn from her father as a young woman that I can teach her. And those are very intimate lessons as well. You know, that game, you know, being able to go on a date and her father be like, you know, you can't date him, and this is the reason why X, Y, Z. And it's not to say that I can't see those things or teach those things, but it coming from daddy is gonna make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna make a huge
It
difference
does.
in how they walk, how they talk, and how they deal with their partners. So, you know, for me, teaching my children intimacy, just like, you know, just like for me, life taught me intimacy. I am probably doing the same thing with my children and allowing life to teach them intimacy, but it came from birth. First speaking into them that, you know, I love you, you are great, you are awesome. Like my son right now is like, are you almost done? Because we, you know, we have our movie night that we're doing tonight. He is playing some movie for me. I don't know what movie it is, but you know, today was his Valentine. He was my Valentine today.
Yeah.
And
Same with me. I
we've
got
done
to get
dinner.
ready to go.
Yeah, but we've done dinner, you know, we've done dinner, we spent quality time together, we've played together, we're gonna watch a movie together. But you know, that is teaching him intimacy, you
It is.
know. And I think that when you talk about the children, it starts with you, and then you know, from birth, and what they see. Are you in healthy relationships? Are you in health? Because what they see from mom and dad, whether you're together or not, is going to make a huge difference in terms of what they see and how they see it in their intimate life as well.
Absolutely.
That's my take on it.
Awesome.
Okay, Miss Kayla.
Repeat the question. I've been tuning in, but got the question.
Okay. What would you teach your children about intimacy?
What would I teach my children about? Oh, that's a good one. I I believe I am the only one on this chat right now who does not have children. I came in the house. I came in the house earlier and said I don't think children are in my future. But what I do want to teach children is that it is okay. What I want to teach young males first is it is okay to not be masculine all the time. It's okay to put down that masculinity and be vulnerable and emotional. It's okay. It's okay to do that. And also what I want to teach the young ladies is to have pride in who you are, be confident, hold your head high. And so one thing that my roommate has taught me is to fix my crown because sometimes it gets a little tilted.
Just
So she'll come to me and like literally like put her hands on my head and be like, your crown is crooked, sis. You need to fix it and hold your head up high and walk out this house like you ain't just have a breakdown. You know, that's what she taught me. And my other friend is saying you can cry, fall out in your room, fall out in your closet. But when you get up out that closet, wipe your eyes and hold your head up high and get yourself together, grab your purse and walk out like ain't nothing happened. So that's what I want to teach my kids is that with intimacy, it's okay to be intimate with self. It's okay to be intimate with other people. It's okay to form different intimate relationships, and it's okay to explore those relationships outside of family because sometimes kids from big families are so involved with their families that they don't know how to form intimate relationships outside of cousins and extended family. So it's okay to have side friendships with other people other than siblings and cousins. It's okay to date. Like she said, she's polyamorous. It's okay to date multiple people at one time. It is okay. Just be
Yeah,
safe about it, and
for
know
sure.
boundaries and your standards are. And it's okay to have a voice and to be opinionated. um I just believe that intimacy is such a world that is constantly changing, and it changes with each person. It can change every month, it could change every year, it could change every 10 years, but at the end of the day, intimacy is constantly revolving. Even in one's life, it's constantly revolving, it's constantly evolving. So the intimacy that I needed 5 years ago is not the intimacy that I need now. It's not the intimacy that I'm worried about. So with kids, you gotta grow with that as a parent. You also gotta grow with that as somebody who's gonna be a part of a village as well. So right now I'm a part of a village. So because I'm not a parent, so I have to know what the kids around me levels of intimacy are. My little cousins, they love hugs. We just discussed that physical touch is not my love language. So when my cousin ran up to me and gave me a hug when I left her sister's birthday party, I was appalled, but I had to hug her back because that's what she did to me. I hugged her back and I said, I love you. Now with my uncle, I didn't tell that man I was leaving, but he came out the door and I yelled and I said, I love you. And he said, I love you too. Now he called me a colored girl when I walked in the door. But that's how he loves me. So, and that's how he loves the kids. And it's crazy because like I have to grow. So like when they were little kids, I wanted to hold them all the time, but I couldn't do that because that's not what they wanted me to do. So I just let them roam and be free. And now that they're growing up, they want that close relationship. They ask me where I am and they ask to come over my house, and I'm like, oh, this is different because I didn't have that opportunity to, nurture them in the way that the rest of my family did. Like I was more of an outsider, but now I'm becoming a part of the village. And so that's how my intimacy with them is growing. And so now now I'm in the process of learning their love languages at 5 and 7. And so now I have to know that, oh, they really want me around. When y'all were little kids, y'all didn't want nothing to do with me, but now y'all want me around. Y'all know who I am. And it's crazy because it's like, oh yeah, we love auntie, we love granny, but where's Kayla? So I have to know that they love words of affirmation, they love physical touch, and I have to love them in that, you know and it makes my heart sing when they run up to me at the door. That makes my heart sing. I'm like, hey, I'm here. The life of the party is here. And it's crazy. So with kids, learn their love languages in their different stages, because the love language that they have at 10 is not going to be the love language that they have at 15. It's not going to be the love language that they have when they're grown. And also understand that their their intimacy needs is going to change as they grow. Like some kids are very independent, and you have to just let them coast through life and explore their independence. And some kids are actually dependent, and you have to kind of guide them a little bit more. And they may be from the same household, but you have to like I keep forgetting names. Like the young lady said, she said I had to learn my kids. And so now now her 10-year-old wants to have a movie. So she has to know that. And it's crazy because that's interesting to me, because as someone who doesn't have kids, I have a movie night for real. And it's like, oh, okay, this is what a village is. And so now I'm learning myself as being part of a village. I'm also learning the kids and what they need from me.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, Mr. Spencer. Mr. Spencer, I want to hear your talk.
Yeah, I'm here. I agree with what everybody's already said. Um, just teach your kids what you know. Um, again with my daughters, I believe you should show intimate time towards them. Like with them, I teach them. I take them to go get like their nails done. I try to go like on father daughter dates with them. Um, just just try to emulate whatever that I do for their mom, and just watch movies and stuff with them. Because my kids are very my girl too. My thing is my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter, she looks up to me for everything. So I just try to bond with her in a way because I told her that I have to prepare her for the world, and I'm just learning her love language. With her, it's different because she's so quiet and timid that I have to build her up. Like I like what Kayla said with the adjust your crown. So I'm going to start doing that with my kids, especially my oldest daughter, because sometimes she can be down on herself. And I say, you know what, it's okay to make a mistake. My other daughter is 7 years old, so I have time to groom her, um, and still cuddle her. That's what she likes to do. She likes to wrestle. My son, he's still young. He's only 5. So I have a long way to go. I believe in learning these kids' love language, but I'm here to learn. I know there was a book on kids' love languages, so I'm going to take a look at that and see what I can do to make sure I'm giving them the right parenting. Because, like I said, I grew up in a strict household. My mom didn't play. My mom was really the physical force. It wasn't even my dad. My dad was just, I'm going to go to work to show you how to provide. But when it came to discipline, my mom was like, this is what you need to do. Or, she showed me basically the manners. So I'm definitely teaching my kids kind of different than my upbringing, but at the same time, not being afraid to let them be who they are.
Right.
Because kids, now, like you said with the bully, I'm not going to lie. I had a situation like that. So I was 13 years old, and this white guy, man, he called me the N word, and he had me picked up by my shirt. And my mom is 5'11", 250. She came out the door and picked the dude up. I've never seen a woman with that much strength in my life. But my mom had a look in her face like, you never mess with my child. So when you said that, I was like, you're the epitome of what my mom was. I encourage you to keep having those kids because I haven't had it with my daughter yet. It's a subject, but I am telling her that never let anybody disrespect her.
Right.
But I do think that I have to her about that because I don't want somebody to say a word she doesn't understand it, and now she's out of school because I didn't educate her. So I really appreciate the different point of views because it's helping.
Okay. And see, for me, and teaching and still teaching my kids, I have a son that was adopted who is now 31. I have 11, 12, and 16-year-old. The 16-year-old I had to get real with on many occasions because I can't. His thing is I can't sugarcoat with him. I have to speak to him almost harshly and say, "Listen, this is what it is." My two littles. What I teach them all is we have date night. When we go, let's turn the phone face down. Let's have a conversation. I may not have a clue what the devil they're talking about, what the latest phase is. It doesn't matter. They got my attention. But I also teach them, like you all said, this is what to expect. That you need to expect to have a conversation. You need to understand the difference between someone taking you to McDonald's because they can't afford something else versus taking you because they don't want to do that much for you and they don't want to invest into the relationship.
Boom.
Understand and that's my thing. And I tell my kids, it match your gangster. I tell my daughter in a heartbeat, match your gangster. I don't mean he has to pay for everything, but he has to be willing to at least stand up and hold his part of whatever the situation is. If you guys got a house, it's $300,000. You both made money, y'all paying it together, great. Make sure that he's going to be there and be a part of the situation. Make sure that you could feel comfortable enough to have a conversation because when everybody's gone, you need to know that you and him or you and her can have that particular situation. Right. So I've been in because I know the things that I lacked growing up and all that I allowed to happen in my life that was unnecessary and all of the down parts and all of the issues I had growing up and even in my early 20s. So because I know who I was and I'm very real about who I was and who I am, I'm teaching them You don't have to be exactly like me, but I need you to find yourself.
Right. Right.
I need you, like you say, my daughter's not the one that I'm gonna take to the nail salon to get her nails done all the time because she gonna pop them off. But I get her all these different colors of Lee press-ons, and baby be having a great time. Honey, she may have on this with this outfit, and because she's a fashionista. I was supposed to have all boys, but that girl slipped in. Jesus, what you gave me this for? I don't know what to do with this. And she's not just a girl, she is the girliest girl. Jesus, you see what my hair looks like? And she got a head for Jesus, what I'm supposed to do with this? We're working this out. We figuring out our middle ground. I know when to bring in call an auntie, excuse me, and Jamila will tell you because she's been one of those aunties. Excuse me. You told me. So what I do with that? You have moments where that's just what you did. That's just like I learned, like you said earlier, about the way I treat my partner. Let me get up and fix your food. Let me get up and get your drink. Let me do these certain things, especially when we're amongst others. That was what I grew up seeing. That's what I did. Mom always sees certain things in the house. Me and my ex could have had the worst argument before we went somewhere. Y'all don't need to know that. Nope. So while we in public, y'all know that. Now I'm gonna get to the house, however, and me and Say may be having a runoff on who can raise the most hell. When we at the house, ain't nobody around. We may be having a runoff because I can raise it. However, y'all don't need to know that.
Exactly.
That needs to happen at the house.
That's right.
I definitely,
and that's the thing I impress upon my kids very, very heavily. You don't need to tell everybody your business. Everybody don't need to know, what situation it is, who did what, how they did. You don't need to know all that.
Right.
If they don't need to be too nosy, because if you got to walk in with your swag because your spouse and did some things the right way, let that be your happy moment. Live in those memories and let that be in your head. Nobody need to know that.
That's right.
right.
But if he pissed you off to hell, you have that one friend that you can vent to. Now, don't get it wrong. You gotta always have that one bestie that you can say whatever you want to say to, and they give you a reality check. Because I have that one friend who will tell me in a heartbeat, Miss Taylor, will tell me in a heartbeat, you wrong, Jamila, you wrong, you right, and will give and have the qualms, give me the whole entire hell effects.
Right.
So you have to have that, but you can't let everybody into your space. Intimacy is supposed to be a closeness.
Right.
I have a few friends in my intimate circle that I can be that vulnerable with, that transparent with, that open with. It's not everybody, because everybody can't handle it. Because I'm liable, like Javon and Jamila, we liable to say anything out our mouths in any way, shape, or form. And if you're not in my intimate circle, you're not going to understand how to take that.
Gotta be.
You're not gonna understand that, especially when we get to this age past 40, and our talk changes and Kayla, you gonna get this every few years. Your spirit gonna change just a little bit. So when you hit 30, it's gonna change. 35. Around 35-ish, your give a damn starts to break.
Right.
Breaking down a whole lot.
I think it's starting to break now because I actually had an experience, and I don't know what I'm vulnerable. I do this, but I met a guy and something triggered him to ask me for all of my social media passwords.
Oh hell no! Right.
Right. All of us. Excuse me.
Next now. What?
Right. And so me being petty Betty, I gave it to him because I was like, you're not going to find anything. Because he asked me a question, he thought I was lying. So he was like, I need your passwords to your Instagram, your Facebook, even my iCloud and my Gmail. And so, like, I was like, what? So, petty Betty, I was like, you're not going to find anything. You're not going to find anything that's untoward. You're not going to find anything that's, like, reckless or out of the way. And so, today, well, yesterday, he texted me, was like, you changed your passwords quick. I was like, because you're not supposed to have them.
Y'all not
I was like,
So
married. This man asked for passwords. What's wrong?
right. And he thought that he told me that me telling him that that's weird was not cool.
let me help you out. So let me tell you how that question is going to evolve over the years. So you like, oh, I'm gonna give it to you, let you see this, you're not gonna find nothing. Because you pinned to the 30-ish time frame. So that's where it is. You're gonna be like looking crazy. Hey, you know that ain't cool. 35, you be like, let's look at it together because I'm finna cut you out in a minute. Because once you look, because my give a damn broke, I'm gonna cut you out and give me yours. And then it's give me yours.
It
Now,
broke the day because I was like, you want my pass, and then he re-asked for my password on Facebook. I said, no, you're not gonna. I was like, no, you're not gonna get it because like at this moment in time, you're violating my privacy. Number one, and then you're asking me for a password, and we're not even exclusively dating. Number two, and then number three, you have no genuine intentions of pursuing me for a long-term relationship. So why do you need? Why do you need my password?
I wouldn't even give him
If
nothing.
he ain't-
Let me explain something to you. Let me explain something to you. At 45 years old, if he would have asked me for them passwords, I have one sentence for you. No.
that's right.
However,
The minute
you take
while
that,
we on it, let
ain't no explanation. I don't care what you think. Ain't nothing. No is a whole lot.
It's a whole sentence.
No.
ask you that, man.
I mean, I probably would have gave him a jig, but nope. Nope.
but it's a whole no.
Oh.
It's so crazy because like this is where accountability partners come. Because I told my roommate, she was like, first of all, that sounds real insecure. I was like, yeah. And then I told another guy, and he was like, first of all, that's mad weird. And he was like, and this guy has a whole living girlfriend. He was like, she don't even got my passwords, and I live with this girl. And he was like, he's crazy. Like just block him.
Yeah.
And
I
so
hope you did that. I hope you
Right. Because that was foolish.
I did block
crazy.
him, but I was like, what made you possess? Like, I wish, like, I wanted to put the whole thread in a group chat, but like, it was so crazy, and I really wanted to be really petty and put the whole thread in the group chat and not block out his number.
Now, let me help you, bro. When you get to our age, we'd have had a whole Facebook post on it. We'd have blocked out the phone number, but we'd have had a whole Facebook post, tagged him in it, and proceeded to have a conversation.
Y'all would have roasted him right there.
You got like all the way for.
Hey, Kayla, I'm competitive, man. So if a dude, I'm never gonna ask a woman for her freaking password. Like, if you could be talking to 5 different dudes, I wouldn't give a care. If I'm interested in you, I'm curious to see how these other dudes are approaching you. So for him to even ask you for your password, that's insecure right there.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, man. These dudes have to step up the way they're approaching to these women. Like, if that woman, like you said, a woman that's 45 is going to be different than how you approach a 30-year-old. So you better come correct, because she will say no off the gate, and then you're going to be sitting home hurting when you could have had your shot. Because I'm for older women. If I see a 45-year-old woman and I'm single, man, I'm 32, I'm going to shoot my shot. That's me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to keep it 100 with you.
What you said, he gonna be black hurt messing with us.
And so somebody put in the comments, that's how abuse starts in some cases, and controlling behavior, and that's absolutely true. And that's a red flag, because it's like you wanted me to give you everything up front, and then when I asked you to reciprocate, oh, now you want to deflect. Now you want to play the victim. No, sir. You can.
He was cheating. He just want to see if you was cheating too. That's what it was.
Right. But you said the perfect word. 2. He wanted to see if you were cheating 2.
Yeah.
That's where the whole thing comes from. He doing dirt, and he want to make sure he don't run across you in the dirt he doing. No, boo, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
Well, he wanted to make sure you weren't talking to one of his homeboys, and he like, come on, man, we pursuing the same girl, bro. Hey, I know all the game, man. I'm trying to tell you. That's
Right.
why I said I'm gonna put my girls
And
on
if you
game.
and Spencer, if you if you really want to know, you gonna catch this. Yes, he is. Yes, absolutely. Just crazy. Just crazy. Crazy. Get your battles, Spence.
Hey,
Get your
hey,
battles.
hey, hey, hey. If you're single, you can talk to whoever you want, man. Until you married, that's when you gotta, you know what I'm saying, cut it off unless you probably like. But
That's
if
what
you
my
single, man, you better date
Yeah, you
whoever
still
comes to you.
married.
You single until you married. Absolutely.
Exactly. Hey,
Well,
but I
everyone,
gotta get ready to go. My wife is
yeah,
giving
I
me
was just gonna say, well, everyone, I've enjoyed this night. We're gonna have to do this again. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining in with us tonight. I hope you all have a great rest of your Valentine's. Big hugs, big kisses, and we're gonna keep exploring some things. We'll be doing this again soon. You guys have a great evening.
You too.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Too. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Night. Okay, there we go.